using a different app this time. Well, I'm actually using the YouTube app, but it's not the live broadcast app, it's the YouTube app. So anyway, I'm not sure if anyone will turn up, not sure how this will all work. Let's see what the settings offer me. Let me share. That was quick. Okay, it does let me share, so I'm going to punch this out to Twitter. And we'll see. All right, there we go. Okay, what I want to do, let's have a quick, relatively quick, who knows, conversation. Hopefully some folks will join in and you can help me kind of cycle through my logic here in terms of gameplay about what's going on with Beyond the Rhine. And just to recap what has occurred or transpired, would that be a better way of saying it? Started the game off, everything seemed to be going swimmingly well, and I was very disappointed with the amount of supply that I had to share amongst the 3 areas in the broad front for the Allies, and I was impressed with how well the Germans were doing and how quickly they could get to basically the front line in front of the Siegfried Wall, the Western Wall, whatever you want to call it, and then kind of set up, defensive measures along the Albert Canal, number 1, and number 2, set up some defenses down in the south of the Ardennes and stuff like that. So that was pretty cool and interesting, but it was very frustrating because I couldn't seem to make anything happen or get into a cadence that was equivalent to or relatively close to the historical sort of cadence of what was going on in the battle. And being a fastidious reader of the rules, and also the reinforcement charts, we had a couple of nasty surprises with where reinforcements were actually coming in for the Allies. That made things difficult for the Germans, but not enough such that it was going to change the gameplay significantly. So rule number 1, which I was just reading in the Special Ops magazine number 7, read the reinforcements chart carefully, look forward, my young man. But the biggest issue we had was that inside the Broadfront rules, there's a date that says when they actually start. And so in order for you to appreciate the gravity of how freaking stupid I was, I really don't know how to explain it, because I think, so we played 3 turns that where we applied the broad front strategy rules, which means that supply has to be equally allocated across these 3 sections of the map. And I'll flip the camera in a second. We can have a look at it if you want to. There's that. Now, by doing that, it really takes away some of the cool choices for at least 3 turns that the Allies had in regards to where they could put their supply. So you could have, for instance, taken all of the supply in the first turn and put it up north and build stockpile such that you could then go ahead and do Market Garden. Sounds fair enough. And you also could have approached the Albert Canal to an extent that you were then able to launch Market Garden. Or you could have taken an alternate historical viewpoint and said, hey, what would have happened if we had have given, if Patton had got all that supply that the greedy little bugger wanted, right? And we could have allocated all the supply that came in for those guys. And that may have, changed the way things happened there, down around Metz and Verdun. And the third thing we could have done is in the middle with Bradley, I think it is. There's a minor breach across one of the rivers. I forget which one it is here. I can't see it from here. But there's a unit that starts set up across the river line in the woods in the Ardennes. And so with that, and I think 5th Army was on the board when we started with, not 5th Army, 5th Armored. We could have potentially had an opportunity to kind of go at it in that regard as well, and have a look at how by putting all the supply there, what would that have done for the Allies? Which also then would have changed how the Germans would have played, right? So what's the impact of that being? The impact of that has been that, let's say on average the Allies get 7 SP a turn, so it's 21 SP, which is a bunch. So if we had have allocated all or the majority of, let's say 5 per turn to Patton, because he's closest here, that would have given him 15 SP, give or take, which would have been enough to advance everything up to the line. Would have been enough to, well, I see some comments coming up and I will check them in a second. Unfortunately, I cannot see them while I'm talking. Go figure. So we could have advanced and we could have maybe built up stockpile and then maybe got into some combat. Maybe we could have tried to take Mets early, or maybe we could have gone around Mets, who knows. But it would have given us a different, completely different set of gameplay choices that I think. So, where is all this leading? Let's have a look at the comments and I'll tell you. Show all chat. Okay, here we go. Yeah, it's just flashing up on the screen. I knew there was a reason why I didn't like this app. Can I see? What do I do about errors? Yes. Thanks for the tip. Punish them viciously. Okay, so I think that what I want to do, well, so let's have a look at the map. Let's how do we switch here? Let's see. Okay, so this is kind of the area. So with the new reinforcements came in on this southern edge of the map here, which is all well and good. There's really not enough supply there to kind of make those guys be terribly effective, but they did manage to push some dudes back a little bit. There's the remnants of my cappuccino, which I guess would have been a move. And this is Patton's kind of stuff here. And we have 1 SP. And then there's 2 back here on the map edge. And a bunch of packs over there that we haven't used yet. Really nothing up here that I can do. I have any supply. And the best the Patton's going to get now in the broad front strategy is 3 SP a turn. So I think what really, as a very basic strategy, was it the right word, or idea that you should start with, is that the first few turns, if you're going to go somewhere big, you need to be building a stockpile there for them, such that when you jump into the gameplay with the broad front strategy, splitting your supply across 3 different areas, that you have this backlog or this backup, these dumps of supply that allow you to go be effective, right? So not a lot going on here. Lots of Germans. We've got 15th Panzer Grenadier. I've mentioned this in another video, so I'm not going to belabor the point, but there's a bunch of Germans here, and there's a bunch of German mechanized formations that are freaking tough. So we're going to have to so there's that, right? Here's the little bit of action where I just about flipped the table here a couple of days ago, where these units just got horrible surprise rolls. All the attacks ended up on the worst odds, and it was just a disaster. So yeah, I am running in, I'm just responding to a comment here, I am running into similar problems, but what happened is that we didn't have the 3-turn preamble before the broad front strategy kicks in, where we could build up some depots and dumps for 1 or more areas. Because right now, for instance, if we wanted to, this turn is arguably the turn that the market garden would kick off. It's absolutely physically not possible to be done. There is not enough supply on the map to make it happen, because we didn't have the lead up 3 turns to allow us to 1, 2, 3, you have 4 turns now, because it starts on the 15th. But the preceding 3 turns we didn't have the opportunity to do the build up here. We can move guard. This is where the guard's armor started the game, right there. Now I've done several really bad attacks into Antwerp. This is Antwerp here. We've taken pretty hefty losses and we've knocked off 1 or 2 steps. We made a mistake attacking across the major canal, blah, 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 blah. We fixed that, that's fine. But we have not done anything significant, nor has the Shelled campaign even really kicked off. So the Shelled campaign, you know, oh, my camera is a little bit wonky, there we go. Germans are happily removing themselves from the situation. These guys are, the Canadians and the Polish have just entered the map, I think the turn before. They're trying to consolidate and close in on this area. Good luck, that ain't gonna happen either. So yes, it does feel a little historical, but we're a week and a half or 2 weeks behind with no clear vision to getting back on track. So why am I telling you all this and what am I gonna do about it, right? That's really kind of the bottom line, right? So I think the best thing for me to do is to reset the campaign. And the thought of that kind of makes me sick to my stomach because I've got 4 turns worth of reinforcements on the map and it's a huge freaking pain. So one of the things I was considering was restarting the campaign, but doing it on Vassal and playing it through to a certain point. Let's call it the beginning of the broad front strategy, perhaps, and seeing where that got us to and what happened. And if that felt, you know, in parentheses, if that felt better, so let me switch back cameras here. So if that felt better, then maybe we would continue on from there, and I could potentially continue on from there on the board because I could, you know, relatively easily transfer stuff back onto the board, and if it got, as long as it was near enough, it'd be good enough from that perspective. So there's 2 choices. One, put it up on Vassal and restart the campaign because there's not a lot of stuff to move every turn, particularly if I'm going to allocate a lot of supply to one specific area. That means that 2/3 of the map ostensibly is not going to be being used. It's not going to be being used. It's not going to be used. Horrible language. Do I speak English? Barely. So there's that. That might be a credible way out of the mess because I look at this right now and I know where this is headed. This is headed into a hedgehog war of attrition where the allies are going to bust their head against the wall and they're not going to get across. I'd be lucky to get across the friggin' Elbe Canal the way I'm going right now. So I'm feeling like I've literally screwed this pooch pretty hard and played it poorly enough that it requires a reboot in some way, shape, or form. So there's 6 or 8 of you here right now. Please comment, make your thoughts clear to me. Happy to take opinions. Also, once it's posted up on the web, then please, shoot that idea down in flames. Alternatively, I'm going to finish this turn. I'm going to pack it up and just be done. So, because I don't have the morale. I have failed my morale roll, right? I do not have the intestinal fortitude to reset this thing because it's a substantial amount of work, and I don't want to replay all that on with the physical pieces. It'll be much faster to do it on Vassal. So that's my thoughts. What have we got people saying here? Australians do not speak English. You must be so rude, Americans. Who said do the board? John Connor, I'm going to shoot you. Okay, if I find you, you're dead. So I think that might be a good. It might be a good out, a good save, as the case may be. Yeah, so that's all I had. I mean, without getting into other aspects of my life, I keep coming back to this. It's been sitting here now for 3 days, halfway through a turn, and I'm like, oh man, I can't do this. Week prior to that, I did 1 turn, and I'm usually down here every night, chipping away at turns. And I've got other games set up so it's kind of sapping my will to do anything down here, and nothing has moved. The needle has not moved at all, so don't expect a lot of content over the next month. All right, I think based on the flashing of the screen, it's telling me that there are comments coming in. Yeah, I'm not sure. I do want to move on to something different, Dubernik. I think this is a fascinating title. It's got a lot of potential, and I was very curious about what would happen with pattern, but I couldn't understand why I couldn't move anything. Literally couldn't move anything. Particularly when you start the game, all the supply starts on the map edge, and so you've got to have an HQ within range to pull and throw. Sorry, draw and throw forward to forces. So it was a challenge. But anyway, look, I don't want to drag this on so that it becomes some long, boring diatribe, or a longer, more boring diatribe. So I'm going to let you guys go. Thank you for tuning in. If I do start Vassal, here's the upside to that. Maybe I can just play that live on my PC, and we can laugh along at that little exercise as well. All right, I'll talk to you guys soon. I hope you guys have a great weekend. It's gorgeous weather here in Austin, Texas right now. I hope everyone stays safe with all the horrible weather. I'll be thinking about you and praying for you. And cheers. Talk to you soon.